looking at Friday's price action here, you had that morning uptrend, reclaiming the 5-day MA, and a nice move to the 20-day MA. Obviously, that was from a catalyst. There is ways to get involved, but this isn't an ideal structure, which we've gone over already. Um, So first move of the day was that, and basically for the rest of the day, we did range between the 5-day and 20-day MA, right? But since the range is large enough here, there was definitely some scalps with this head and shoulder firstly appearing off of teal, activating the blue precision with the orange precision break here. Um, so first structure to the, well, it was an attempt to the 5-day MA. Obviously, sellers failed, but that's okay. It was already about, the candles were very large here. This was about a point and a half, right? So not too bad of a move. Um, Again, then after the buyers reclose this cup at the 20-day MA, you see the controlled selling, right? You get ready for the handle here to form with teal. Teal breaks out, magenta breaks out as support, and you see orange precision, another great long, again fails at this resistance level being the 20-day MA. You see the sellers being activated, pink becomes resistance with blue precision, another starter position to the downside, right, Azomi from the lack of continuation. And then one more trade to end it off with the pink break-in retrace here in orange precision, which again failed to break and retrace the 20-day MA as support and return back into range, right? So after this here failed to break out of the 20-day MA, you could tell it was likely to range, right? So, yeah, that's how we ended off the day. Um, Basically, liquidity building. Um, we'll see what the market reacts to it today. We're still within it, right? So within this area, we are ranging, right? Looking at the daily now, you will see the 5-day MA is still below the 20-day MA, though it is starting to uh, it won't converge with it today, but it will start to converge if price stays within that wedge, right? The MAs will start to converge. That's what you'll want to see for the buyers to reclaim the 20-day MA as long as price stays above the 5-day MA, right? It will start to climb up. The buyers then could show up and push out of this with the 5-day MA tracing above the 20-day MA, right? So that's what you'd want to watch. See if this happens. This will be over a course of a few days. But for now, the 20-day MA is above, which means this is technically still in a downtrend. Looking at the 30-minute here, you'll see orange precision, right? This is the first thing I've pointed out. I want you to be able to recognize that the buyers could show up and break out like this with the orange precision, right? You will see orange precision and pink support, right? This is what you'd want to look for, especially when structure is more shallow. This would technically still be shallow, right? A deeper structure would make this the left shoulder, a head forming maybe near here, and the right shoulder forming here, right? This would be a deeper structure, um, right? So when it's more shallow like this, right here, you would wait simply for the break and retrace, right? So we will see if that happens today. Otherwise, be on the lookout for the inverse cup here to close, reforming this handle with blue and selling down like this. Right, this will be what I'd want to look for on any downside. Obviously, there will be smaller scalps within between. My only worry is that if the 5-day MA here doesn't break, you will start to see a very slow grind. So just be very, very careful of that. Um, Ideally, we get the 5-day MA to break, retrace around this level to get us down towards the bottom of the inverse cup closure, and then this handle here forming. So we will see. We'll see how it wants to form up. Use the algos to your advantage. Um, Very simply, don't overtrade anywhere in between these two lines, this pink and this blue, right? These are the two areas that you're watching to see if a move will occur from, right? Simply, you can wait for their break and retraces, right? However they happen. Okay, some nice buying right off the open. This will give us a buyer precision. Keep an eye on that 30 minutes a day. Make sure you're looking at where we're at. Make sure you're keeping an eye on the cues as well. Right, they're at the 5-day MA. The 20-day MA is still about 6 points above here. Keep an eye on yesterday's high around this level here. So ideally then, the buyers show up, break and retrace this as support. That would be what you want to see. At this point, we would probably spot out the pink algo. Anything early, right, you would need a stronger precision. So do keep that in mind. Ideally here, buyers break out, retrace as support. This would be the earliest I could see it, right? Or technically the earliest would be the green precision pushing through the orange here. Right, you'd want to see that green precision appearing. Try to read out the current lows and highs here, right? The buyers showing up here, sellers were showing up here. This is not a very large range, a little bit less than a point, a little more maybe. Not very large, right, by any standard. So it'll be safest to wait. Right, that's something you'll learn. If you look at yesterday or Friday's price action, sorry, you'll learn that waiting equals clearer opportunity, right? It's as simple as that. The more the market moves, the more information you're able to acquire to make a decision. Okay, so off the rip, I want you to pay attention now. This is going to give us a selling precision. We have a low here, and we have a target below here, okay? So the earliest you can get a position is when the low turns into resistance, right? Or you get a nested structure of some sort that tells you that this is headed down, right? How can it tell you, right? So if a structure forms here, breaking through a low that forms here as a resistance, you have a better opportunity, right? So just wait for a clear structure if it's not volatile enough. That's what you're currently watching for. Is it volatile enough to break through the low? Do you have enough risk reward to get to your target? Nice. So that would have saved you from going short quite yet. You were watching the low here. This is that low. that needs to become resistance. Anything before that hand, be very, very careful, right? If it wants to head to the 5-day MA, you can simply wait for a structure to play it as resistance here. A lot easier when it becomes resistance. So keep in mind, sellers have appeared. That's great, all right? This is what you wanted to see to go short with. We've pushed below, closed low, low a day here, so a cup has closed. Early in the morning like this, it's not the easiest to take a position with, right? And looking at it like how it currently is, there's not much to go off of. I would rather wait for a larger structure now before shorting, or watch to see if the buyers show up and make a inverted head and shoulder, right? It'll be easier if you allow it to be clearer, right? All right, so at this point now, if we are to retrace, we've already pushed through this low, you want to see it retrace as resistance. Start assessing where your target would be, right? It's technically the support is here. The resistance is forming off of the yellow level above. So again, if it's too tight of a structure, it's better if it happens like this, doesn't it? So currently, this isn't selling in any strong precision anymore, right? It's just selling within the teal. This is not ideal to be within a trade short anymore then, right? Obviously, if you have futures, it's different, but if you're options trading, if you were scalping any breaks here, so if you, for example, if you scalp the orange break or this retrace off of magenta, which again, this isn't an ideal retracement, right? For factors we've already spoken about, right? I'd instead have waited for this to break, then retrace. But if you did take any position here or here, those are possible. You can still make a better risk to reward out of them. Um, then you need to be protected once you get to the bottom of a containment. And then again, you're either holding runners with a tighter stop around your entry point, or you stop out completely on the break of precisions, which is what I would do. Right, so now if you are holding runners, you would watch to see if this reactivates your precision, and I want you to watch this low because this is the low that they need to break through and retrace as resistance to the downside. This is how you can see if a precision is activating because it needs to push through liquidity levels, right? So that's why you'll see a lot of times if big green candles or big red candles appear within a range, you still gotta wait for those liquidity levels to be tested to know where that precision is. Or be breached, sorry. Alright, so watch these areas now. Now you see a stronger buyer appearing. These are the areas it's going to test. Now you can see how it lines up with the algos as well. Now again, identify where the range is. If you take any trades, right, it's the yellow level to this level. So you would have to understand what your risk to reward would be and why you would see that I believe that this is better as a left shoulder. Now, can it go for it? Yes, obviously, right? As long as this teal holds, you'll likely get to the target of 5-day MA, right? But instead, I'd like to see a trade like this appear, right? A nice head and shoulder off of the resistance being the head near 20-day MA, staying within this range. Breaking down with the magenta here to get us to the 5-day MA, and hopefully this imbalance would be strong enough to breach through it, right? Ideally, this is what I'd want to see, and hopefully would activate a stronger selling algorithm other than just the teal. Again, if you can assess what your risk to reward must be and you can make a trade out of it, it's always possible. You need to know where to protect by and what to be guiding with. Currently, it's selling within the teal. So if you're taking a trade here, right, as long as it stays within the magenta, it's still guided by the teal. Okay, so they are attempting to break through the low. I place down the precision, right? You see how it lines up with all the algos? I've placed the precision. It's not selling in the green quite yet. Blue is attempting to activate, but right, there's now an attempt to the 5-day MA here. If they push through this, that's where they're likely to head to. Technically still contained within the teal, right? And this isn't a high quality structure, so if you are in a trade, you're protected by here, right? This was where you should be protected by. Trades within this area are completely okay, right? That's where the teal was holding resistance and orange break occurred in a downtrend. So now you would be in a trade, scalped within, being able to hold runners to get to the 5-day MA target. Not too hard of a trade. There was a lot of resistant wicks coming up. You could take trades very simply with a very tight stop loss. Um, Obviously, it's not the greatest of setups, but it's a setup nonetheless that you definitely could be looking for. Okay, so now at this point, if in any scalp, if it's not selling within the blue, near a low, near support, you should be very wary, right? You can guide with the teal. That's completely fine. That is your more dominant seller currently. That's the one that's been guiding us down all the way already. So it's completely fine to guide with teal. Ideally, though, it stays within the blue. If it does not, you have to be very, very careful, right? You definitely should not be in. If you take 3 contracts, for example, and you scalped in around the orange break, you sell 2 by this point and hold the 1 in hopes that you do get the breakdown. Right, so an entry point within this area is completely fine. Right, you'd be protected to here and allow your runner to get here or guided within the blue precision once it appears near the 5-day MA. Just be very careful. This is really heavily contained within this teal here. It's not a strong selling precision either. This is a controlled selling precision, right? Especially early in the day, you want volatile candles. Look at the difference from this move here to this move here, right? Huge difference. It's not the same seller. Doesn't mean they cannot appear, right? They definitely could appear and push through the teal supports, right? But you need to keep that in mind when you're guiding your trade. When it's selling in a weaker selling algorithm and you have profits on the table, you take as many profits as possible and hope that a stronger precision appears. Pretty much so far, this is a basic Monday, right? Don't get too over hyper on thinking a giant move is going to happen, right? The 5-day MA is an expected low. It is. It's some area of balance, right? So when you reach an area of balance, targets have been met, you prepare to see if an imbalance forms off of it, right? You don't take a trade right off of it unless you're doing a ZOMI, right? So teal break here with a balance point being met normally means targets have been reached and another retracement can occur, right? That's how that works. But again, you have to look at targets, right? Magenta resistance, where does it line up with this support level, right? So you need to be protected by here or be able to guide with some kind of precision, and I will place down the green precision here since this is right off of this. 5-day MA, it's likely to activate a stronger precision if it is the strongest buyers off of this level with a retracement, right? So you could protect by this level and then allow runners to go up higher, right? That's how balance points work and how zomies work, right? When they happen in an area of, let's just say a random area, a zomi, so if a zomi was to occur below the 5-day MA, it's because a range is held, right? There would be a climax point here, and this range not breaching within a precision. So this point would become a point of balance because buyers had held this point prior, right? So the sellers had agreed not to push through this level. That's how zomies work in other areas as well. I mean, it's the same concept with the 5-day MA, but it's easier to see because you visually can see it with the line being right there, right? So if it's not buying in this, it's buying within the orange next, right? And if this isn't the main buyer off the 5-day MA, which it's now not looking like it, right? You see the resistant wick, then you would just be patient, right? You don't want to take any trades before the 5-day MA becomes resistance, or you see a climax occurring with volume increasing and volatility also increasing, right? So instead, at this point, you do nothing. You could still technically guide your trade if you took it here. Now, if I was in the trade, I did not take this trade. But if I was within it, I would guide with firstly the green and then probably have runners stopping out around this low, below this low, because that would mean orange precision broke, right? There we go. That's what we want to see. Trust me, it's a lot better if after we break through the 5-day MA. It's the same seller as earlier today as well, right? especially on a Monday when you push through points of balance, points of expected areas, right? Expected move to be around this area, and you push through that, that creates imbalance. So 5-day MA is becoming resistance in the strongest precision currently. It is still technically contained by teal. Again, that can change fairly quickly, especially in the most volatile precision. Look at the volume. Remember, volume doesn't technically just mean it's all sellers, right? If the volume is large but the candle is not, they're competing, right? Now, if the buyers are going to show up, you'll see it come off of this teal, and I want you to start looking for, again, reading the lows and highs here on how that move will occur. Currently, it's still selling in a precision. It's not in the green anymore, but they do have the blue here. You see this liquidity level off of the pink algorithm with the 5-day MA support in this area, a head that could possibly be forming in an area on where they could reclaim this, right? So ideally, if there is some kind of reversal, you would see this get retested, buyers re-show up and form a nested within this area. This would be more ideal. Why? Because you would get the 5-day MA as well involved. If you're trying to scalp anything here, get protected ASAP. Do not hold a trade longer than you should. If you're taking a candle or two trade, you need to be protected within a candle or two. So if you're seeing the 5-day MA become resistance and you got involved within this area, you need to be protected before this area. All right, so if you were to scalp two contracts here, you would protect one ASAP before it gets to the low here, and then hold the last one with a stop loss right above 5-day MA. You would never lose money and you'd be involved, right? Candles are large enough where a move like that is possible, right? So you'd be protected and now you'd be able to hold for as long as the blue precision or green precision is activated, right? That's not too bad. Just a smaller scalp for me. That's what I was watching for. Right, not too clear of a structure above, right, but you can see that the 5-day MA is becoming resistance. You can get protected before the low. It's not the best of imbalance here, but enough to get involved in hopes that the 5-day MA becomes resistance to push price down, right? Now, if this fails to hold the 5-day MA as resistance, I can get out of my trade ASAP and watch to see if this becomes a left shoulder for a right head forming above around this level and a right shoulder to come back to grab it. Completely fine, right? But why would I get involved here? Because we had seen the green precision appear prior, pushing below the 5-day MA as resistance and retracing back to the 5-day MA as resistance, and my hopes was these sellers would reappear and break this down. If it doesn't happen, that's completely fine, right? So that stops me out. I'm not going to hold past this candle. That's okay. I don't lose money. I got involved. Now I'll see if a larger structure appears. Now you can see exactly where you should have protected compared to where you could have entered, right? Again, you be patient, you wait for the next setup. No need to rush now. If you've already caught profits, well done, right? You could have taken a few trades already today. There's a trade within this area, sure. I would rather you not take a trade in this area. Instead, if you were to take anything earlier, um, within this area is a lot safer. More likely runners being held within this area. And now that the breakdown has occurred off 5-day MA flipping resistance, you could have taken the trade on that break and retrace of 5-day MA. That's fine. Now it's just selling within the teal. It's not ideal anymore, right? The stronger precision did not appear. You know where the support is here, and if that precision reappears, where you could get involved. Just always remember that you're looking at the setup for what it is, and if it's not clear, you wait for a break and retrace with precision activating, right? And if that doesn't happen, then you wait for a clearer structure, right? Do you see how you could wait for either or of these? It's all you're doing. Again, I'll draw out the blue precision. You can guide with that. It's really not selling in any aggressive manner anymore, which makes this very um, unamusing to trade, right? Obviously, you want the volatility. If there's no volatility and it's at support, it's just best to stay away. That's what I'll do in this area. I don't see it being volatile, right? I want the green seller to appear again, right? If I don't see that green seller appearing near the break of the support, I can be completely fine in waiting for the next setup. It's only selling within teal. If you're taking this retracement here, I mean, it's a very, very tight retracement, right? Um, you can guide it with the teal, or you can wait for the blue to reappear and retrace as resistance. There's a lot of better ways to get involved. I'd rather you not take retracements like this unless the teal is perfectly retesting it. It's just very, very tight. There's a lot. Your risk to reward is just so tight that if the candle bounces for 1 second up, you just get stopped out. It's just not worth the entry. Instead, it's a lot safer if it pushes, retests an area a little bit higher, then comes back down, right? So if the precision here appears and pushes below, I would move the blue precision, and then you'd be able to follow it and enter off of the blue precision, right? Otherwise, it's still selling within teal. Okay, and now I want you to understand that seeing this is not much of an imbalance, right? It was an attempt, yes, but again, it wasn't selling in the blue precision, only within the teal in such a tight area. It'll be safer if it pushes a bit higher, then comes back for it, right? It's so much safer that way. Right, so if you get a candle that comes to push to like this area, that'd be a lot better, and then comes back down. That's what you'd want for a very light retracement, and I'm talking about the blue precision would appear with that. If it doesn't happen that way, again, this would be much better as a left shoulder head, right shoulder. Right, so at the end of the day, if it's not clear and the retracement is very shallow like it currently is, you need to be patient and always waiting for a better imbalance in price. Where's the balance point? 5-day MA. So where would an imbalance form off of it? 5-day MA. Currently, you see liquidity building, right? Where will breakout occur? Again, try to spot out clear imbalance if the buyers appear without a deep enough head to reclaim this left shoulder, like below, with the right shoulder off the 5-day MA in pink, then it's better to wait for what? A break and retrace as support, right? A lot safer. Yeah, these candles are just not enticing at all, hopefully for you. Watch to see if we get a rejection off the pink and 5-day MA. This could be an earlier structure. You see how I still drew it as a break and retrace of that level with the right shoulder, right? Because structure is still very thin, even if it rejects here, you would want to see that precision appear, breaking, retracing it as resistance, right? Okay, so far, pretty slow. Again, Monday, right? We're not breaking away from the 5-day MA target yet, and we may revert back into range, right? And how can you see that? You would watch for the break and retrace of 5-day MA to become support. Even then, if the structure here is not clear, it's better to wait for what? Cups to close, right? So you can wait for this, you could wait for this, you could watch for this, because this would push through bearish control, or you could just wait for this, right? Plenty of opportunity ahead if this wants to head back up. It's all dependent on where you'd want to take your entry. If you're zooming the magenta becoming support here, that's an earlier position after a lack of selling continuation, sure. Just be very, very mindful um, of what your target would be, right? It would be where the 5-day MA is. It's not ideal. Again, it's possible. There's a position in almost every area. Um, if you know what you're doing, right? This is reverting back into this range. This is the new low. Buyers are attempting to push above this, reclaim this as support. Sellers are going to want to keep this as resistance and form some kind of imbalance to grab this liquidity below. But you can't see that without a precision. So no matter what, you need to wait for the break and retrace of this to become resistance because the range is just too tight, right? It's just too tight for you to do anything. And vice versa, right? The buyers need to reform this as support, right? So now you can see a precision may be appearing here. I want you to watch that low, right? Watch the low here. They need to break. You'll see it with magenta. They'll break and retrace it as resistance. If that doesn't happen within precision, no trade. Okay, I'll place down the blue. I'll place down the teal. You can see blue's already struggling. It's not ideal to be struggling this early, right? Otherwise, it could be a trap or selling and contained within teal, right? So it could still head down with teal. Otherwise, you were prepared. You could see this trap occurring with magenta and precision not breaking and retracing as resistance, right? So even here, you still need to wait then for it to break down. That's how you stay away from very thin structure, right? You wait for a break and retrace. So now you'll see, since price is tapering within pink, I place the pink below. Price now, the precision needs to appear. If the structure is too tight, it'll appear like this to push down, right? Precision could appear, retesting the pink, and then retrace off of the magenta, turning this level as resistance, and breaking down here finally. Right, so you see teal selling. It's not selling in blue. Okay, so we need to wait, right? No matter what, at this point, you see pink containment, you see the attempt to break and retrace this support as resistance, but it's only within the teal and now breaking out of teal, which means we're currently selling within the pink and buying up within a magenta, right? So technically there would be a magenta below here, but we don't map it out because of the support not being a dominant support to hold this up. It's still technically in a selling continuation until there's a climax. I normally don't place them. So that's why you don't see a million magentas on the map, because technically, if we're actually speaking in terms, there's a magenta here, right? There would be a magenta here. There'd be magentas in a lot of areas. So that's a lesson for another day. Um, you look for where the climaxes occur to place the algos. Takes a little bit of experience to understand that. But at this point, right, you see a less volatile state. You wait for it to become more volatile, right? You read the current structure, right? They've formed this low and this high here, right? So the high is here, and now they're pushing through it. Precision may be appearing, but it's still technically contained within pink, right? So you need to wait for pink to become resistance, right? It'll be a bit more ideal if they do it this way, right? Why? Because it would expand the range here so you can see the imbalance more clearly. If it happens now, you'd see it happen like this. We'd hopefully get green precision to appear. So you start to watch here again. You need to be intent on what you're focused on looking for, a stronger precision. Okay, so at this point, the market is very choppy. Um, I'm gonna recommend you guys wait. It's already an hour in on the day. Feels very slow. It's selling within pink at the 5-day MA. This is not worth your time. Um, wait for what I've listed out, right? Pink needs to become resistance for a breakdown. Otherwise, wait for a larger bear flag to occur, right? That'll be safest, seeing a larger structure. Otherwise, if that doesn't happen and the sellers or the buyers appear, this would be safer for a breakdown to occur, buyers to reappear, and reclaim this level as support with the 5-day MA, right? You see how this could form up? Right. So lots of things to wait for then. All you need to do is be patient, wait for the proper structure here to appear. Ideally, this would be within the green buying, right? Okay. Right, so keep it simple for yourself. 5-day MA becoming support with pink equals a long opportunity once a head forms. Otherwise, it'll be safer for pink break and retrace, forming it as support, hopefully building a little bit more liquidity within this area to break out, right? Above this high, right? That's where liquidity should build, a head forming below, and then breaking out right here, right? But as of now, it's best to take a break. It's just selling in pink, right? So this is where we'll wrap up. If it Brent wants to break it now, right, I will move over the teal. It should be within green. If it's not volatile enough selling within the green, I still wouldn't recommend it. You can take a trade as long as volatility starts to appear, right? At the end of the day, that's what you're looking for. So watch for it if you'd like. If not, it's safer just to wait, I promise you. So just keep that in mind. Okay? All right, guys. I am going to take a break. I will be back within a bit. If you're not trading for the rest of the day today, you've made profits. Well done. It's Monday. You know it's liquidity building day. Focus on the 30-minute moves. You'll do so much better. All right, guys. I'm out of here. Take care.